I've been so fascinated by what has turned out to be Women's Week in Space. Could not have seen this coming. Truly could not have seen this coming. Okay, so basically, just to bring you up to speed in case you are just like living your life or whatever. There was a Blue Origin, they went up. I don't know what to call it. Because some people get offended when you call it a trip, but then other people get offended when you call it a mission. So it was a flight. It was a flight to space. So on this flight to space, on this Blue Origin flight to space, you had Carrie Ann Flynn, who's a film producer. You had Lauren Sanchez, who is Bezos' fiance. You had Aisha Bowe. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And she's an actual like aerospace engineer. And then you had Amanda Wynn, who is a bioastronautics researcher, which when I saw the words together, I was like, every once in a while you'll see somebody who has a job or a field of study that makes you feel dumber than is fair. Do you have it? Because you'll just be living your life and then they'll be like, I'm a bioastronautics researcher. And it's like, all right, is that Iron Man? What do you... I don't know. She went to Harvard, so you had Carrie Ann Flynn, you had Lauren Sanchez, you had Aisha Bowe, you had Amanda Wynn, you also had Gayle King, and then you had Katy Perry. You had this set of individuals come together to go up in space. So here's what happened. Basically, they went on this Blue Origin flight. Now, Blue Origin is owned by Bezos, and it is like space tourism, pretty much, where they will send you up there, you'll fly up there, and you'll look around, and then they drop you, but it's like completely safe. And there was a bell. I don't know what the point of the bell was, but there was a bell that they rang before they got in. And ringing the bell was how you could tell that Gayle King didn't really want to go at first. Like that, like that was tough. In case you didn't see it, I think Aisha just rung the bell. She was all happy. She was like, yeah, you know. Gets into the little craft, and then Gayle's walking up behind her, and she goes, I've only seen that face one other time, and it was when my mom was trying to teach me how to drive. I love my mom, and I know my mom loves me, and I know that my mom, but she believes in me sometimes too much, you know? Like, my mom would say the stuff that parents are, like, quote unquote supposed to say when you're a little kid. You can do anything you put your mind to. Ooh, you know, you may not get it now, but if you work harder, you're smart enough to figure it out. All of the positive affirmations you're supposed to give a kid to get them to accomplish something down the line, something difficult, right? Something that may seem nearly impossible. And I really believed my mom when she told me these things. When my mom told me, oh, look, you may not be the fastest, the strongest, you may not be able to grasp something right away, but if you put your mind to it, if you put your mind to it and you read that sentence over and over and over again, eventually you'll get it. And then if you keep doing that with the whole book, you'll understand it. You know, it's just, my mom was, always imparting on me that enough attention and hard work could get you to the places that talent got other people easily, you know? And these are important lessons. I look back at the things that my mom said, and not only are they true, but I wish more people heard them, because sometimes when you just pump somebody up too much initially, you give them a false belief that they'll just get it or it'll just come to them, and then when it doesn't, they're more likely to give up, right? Whereas if they're told off top, you're not that good at this, they'll know that there's something to work towards, and that the thing is possible, that everyone who ever accomplished anything wasn't already good at it. It took work, it took perseverance and everything. And I believed my mom when she told me all these things, until it was time for her to teach me to drive. Because when we got in the car, my mom was making a face that didn't exactly say, you can do anything you put your mind to. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, like if I could do anything I put my mind to, I'm putting my mind to driving, and then you get in the car with me, you sit in the passenger seat, and you going. I'm starting to think that there's more to this whole thing, you know. And so Gail walked up. They all get in the craft and they all pop off. They all get in the... It was shaped weird. But I'm not an astronaut. I'm not a physicist, I'm not a scientist, so I will be using the wrong terminology a lot. Be patient with me. But this rocket craft, this, it wasn't because a ship feels substantial. You know what I mean? Like the Death Star feel like a ship. This feel like the tip of a rocket. Feel like they got in the tip of the rocket. And so they in the tip, and they leave, right? And so they but up, you know what I mean? Like they driving but up, right? And so they shoot right up into the sky, and they're gone, right? And I thought, when I heard about it initially, I thought, oh wow, they're gonna be gone. I didn't know anything about Blue Origin. I didn't know anything about the flight. So I thought they'd be gone for maybe, who knows, like a week or something. Like I thought it was gonna be. I was like, man, Gail gonna miss some, you know, Gail King's on the morning news. She gonna miss a couple of days. You know? Katy Perry's got a whole tour that she's starting on, like, and I'm sure that, you know, Aisha, like, I'm sure the people with like jobs I can't pronounce also have somewhere to be. So I'm like, they're gonna be gone for like a week, and then they came back almost immediately. It was 11 minutes. I didn't know it was gonna be 11 minutes, and honestly, 11 minutes. Because here's the thing. The whole thing is a very cool sounding thing, and I've never done anything like it in my life. So I'm not diminishing what it must be like to go up that high. I'm just saying I've been on runways for an hour, and I feel like for what it was, they should have got some more time up there. That's just me. That's just me. I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying if you go ahead and you do all this stuff to go up there, like, don't make it a high five. Like, let me be up there for a while, and then they come down, and it looked like they landed hard. Now I've both heard from friends, and then I read a whole thing about how there's this thrust that they use with the landing where it basically goes off one time to sort of soften the blow a little bit on the way down, and then it goes off one more time to make sure that you don't slam into the ground. That being said, enough dirt did move that I thought they slammed into the ground pretty hard. I thought they were all gonna be flat when they opened the door. When I saw that, I was like genuinely worried. I was like, it made me by myself sitting in my apartment go, ooh! And it doesn't help that the audio also doesn't sound great. I don't know if you've heard the audio of them coming down, but they're up there in space and they're floating and everything. And then when it's time to come down, all you hear is, like, it's the most garbage, like, It made it sound like they were hurting them in there. Like, like, no, listen to it for real. It sounds insane. And don't get me wrong, if it had been me in there, I can confidently say, if it had been me in there with them, you wouldn't have heard anything. You wouldn't have heard anything because I would have already passed out a hell of a long time ago. I would have passed out so fast. As soon as I saw Earth coming back fast, I would have been like, nope, thank you. You wouldn't have caught me screaming because I would have been unconscious. There's no way. I wouldn't be up here. At most, you would have got a, like, that's all I'm hitting you with. No, that was crazy. That was crazy audio. Oh! 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 It honestly felt like, okay, because it did low-key feel like what happened in the landing was like somehow everything Gail was worried about going up. You know what I mean? Because this is also what happened. The only other time, I know I was talking about my mom teaching me to drive and everything, but I think the other thing that makes you make a face like that, like ring the bell, and then walk towards the flight crap ship. I think the other thing that can do it is like a bad pep talk. There are good pep talks. There are pep talks that like really bring it out of you. The thing that the person saw in you that was giving you the pep talk, it comes out through their inspiring words, right? You see it a lot in football movies. They're like, Coach, we can't. Coach, we can't get another touchdown. They big. They big and we not as big. Coach, we can't do it. All right? They're big and they're pushing this way and we're trying to go that way. Coach, it's impossible. We cannot get another touchdown. I know all we need is another touchdown to win the big game and not feel like losers, but it'll never happen. And then the coach is like, you listen here. You listen to me. Because I'm the only one with a discernible accent in the film. You can tell me all day what you can't do. But even when you say it, even when you say you can't do it, you know what's in there? It's can. Keep saying that you can't do it. Keep saying that you can't do it. Every time you say you can't do it, you're saying you can do it, but you're adding extra. You don't need the extra. You can do it. You can do it if you just want it bad enough. How bad do you want it? How bad do you not want to be a loser? This team, they beat you every year. That's why we're doing the film. Every year, they beat you. We covered it. And we even covered in the foreshadowing that one of you is going to have a lifetime injury. But every year, they beat you in this game that doesn't really mean anything. But you put your bodies on the line to lose out of fear. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You got to put your bodies on the line one more time. This is your very best I want from you because this is it. You're seniors. this is all you have. Some of you are barely gonna graduate. And none of you are making it to the NFL. So unless you want the last game that you ever played in your entire life to be a loss, you'll go out there and you'll put your joints, your tendons, your cerebellum. You'll put your knees, your ankles, your Achilles, your MCLs, your ACLs, your finger joints. You'll put it all on the line, all for the sake of that American pigskin to get to the other side, because this is war. This is exactly like war, except you're not really fighting for anything. And when you win, when you make it to the other side, when you get that touchdown and you're standing there and they topple over the field goal post, which is going to cost thousands of dollars, and everyone runs on the field to try to lift you up, and they hurt their backs because they're old. But you're all this town has, because industry left decades ago. And so they'll try to lift your oversized bodies on their shoulders. But it won't work because everyone in this town somehow has sciatica. So it's not gonna be pretty, but when they lift you up, and you, quarterback, when your girlfriend tells you she's been keeping it from you the entire season, but she's pregnant, you'll be like, wow, at least my son's gonna have a winner as a father. And you, running back, when you're holding your leg hoping it's not that bad, it is that bad, by the way. Hoping it's not that bad. You're dragging it, trying to celebrate with everybody because you're behind, because everyone sort of ran to where the touchdown was and you were hurt, so you couldn't get there, and then everyone trampled you, but you got up, which is important. When you're all lifting your helmets, like they're the helmets of warriors. I want you to think about this speech. I want you to give yourself this speech every day that you go to a job that you hate. Because this is how you're gonna get through life. This is an all-American pep talk. Now go out there and win. Or don't and hate yourself for the rest of your life. But go out there and do it, right? I felt like Gail got a way worse pep talk than that. I feel like Gail's pep talk was just like, girl, why are you so nervous? You ain't gonna die. You know how hard it is to die? You're not gonna die. Just because you're going miles above the earth and then they shoot you in there with fire, you're not gonna die. It's just, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a little explosion under you, and then that's gonna shoot you up in the air, and then you'll be in space. You'll be floating. And I'm sure they got it under control. I'm sure you're not gonna float forever and then never come back. I don't even think they would let that happen, all right? And then when you come down, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. I'm sure you won't be like, oh! Like, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. When you head back down, I bet you it's gonna be so smooth. You're gonna be floating down in a little parachute they do, and then I guarantee it. And then when you fall, you know, when the little craft hits the ground, you won't break your back at all. You know what I mean? That's already been done. We talking research in the 60s and 70s where people came back down and broke their whole back. That's not you, okay? That's not gonna be you at all right? All you gotta do is just trust the experts that have already built this thing. Trust the people that trained you and went through the process of what's gonna happen. And trust that, you know, at the end of the day, God is in control. So if it's your time to go, it's your time to go anyway. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you do all the math you want, but if the Lord wants you, he'll take you. And that's, you know what I mean? That's not, you know, we not on our time, we on God's time. And so if God wants you to die right now, you be dead. Yeah, I mean, it's like, why are you worried? Why are you worried? Just, you made everything right with everybody before you went, right? Like, it's not like you even need to. I'm just saying, like, when they close the door, just ask for forgiveness, and then let what will be, Que sera, serat. No, she just looked like she got one of those rough pep talks that had her like, okay. And they went in there. And when they shot up, they had about, I had to read this part, I wasn't sure, but they had about 4 minutes of like weightlessness, which I thought was zero gravity. It turns out it wasn't actually zero gravity. They were falling, but slowly, because they went up to the, I'm gonna mispronounce it, but they went up to like the Kármán line. And the Kármán line was discovered by this dude named Kármán, named after himself. That's what dudes tend to do. It's my thing. So just so you don't forget who brought you here. But yeah, Kármán was he was German, and I had the absolute pleasure and the honor of going to the Jet Propulsion Lab today and getting a tour. Well, don't clap for me. I didn't know anything before I got there. But I got a tour, and they were explaining that Kármán was German, but he came over before. He wasn't. He wasn't a Nazi. He came over before everything really popped off in Germany, and then he actually helped develop rockets to shoot at the Nazis. He was kind of the most opposite of a Nazi you could be. He was kind of like, hey, get him, right? Which did make it awkward when we brought those Nazi scientists here. That's gonna be a quiet day in the lunchroom. Woo! You just eat your sandwich. It's like, oh, hello, Hans. I see you made it out. Beautiful weather. Yeah, basically, they went up to the Kármán line, and then when you go past the Kármán line, that's like when you're like in space. Now, admittedly, I didn't know any of this, so I thought it was all space. I thought as soon as you left, it was space. I'm not saying I've ever been on a flight and I was like, ugh, space. I'm saying like they were high enough that they saw the moon and they saw like the corners of the earth that just looked cloudy, and I was like, that looked like space to me. It's very spacey. And what I loved about them floating, so a lot of people gave them like a ton of flack as if they were just taking selfies the whole time. It's not they were taking selfies. There's just cameras in the thing. They were looking at the cameras, but the cameras are above the window. So everybody's like, why are you looking at the camera? Look out the window. It's like, no, they were looking at both. They can see the window because the camera's right above it. And so they were looking in the camera some of the time, but you can see where everybody's looking out the window too. And they were weightless, so they were all excited. They're like, oh, look. And they were like, one of my favorite things was at every stage, there's just so many there's so many shots of Katy Perry floating in front of the camera that were genuinely very fun. Like someone will just be in the middle of like, and then Katy Perry. Man, yeah, that was great. That was dope. Like, and she just had stuff too. There was one point she had this daisy, and I was like, all right, yeah, I guess. She had like her tour set list there. I was like, y'all let Katy bring anything she want on the flight. That's wild. Man. I was half expecting Katy to bring a picture of Katy up there. That was dope. And they were having fun up there, you know. It was nice to see people, you know, have fun. Then they came down and everybody was so mad. Everybody was so mad at them. Everybody treated those 6 women like they were another reboot of an all-female Ghostbusters. Everybody. People were so mad at them. They landed and people were like, why'd you go in space? Why were you floating, Katy? Like, geez, sorry. Man. And admittedly, they got out, and I did see Katy's interview. Right when she got out of the craft, and look. All right. I'm gonna do my best. Okay. I know when somebody is like annoying or odd online and you say one thing, you're one person that says one thing, it's not, in your mind, that big of a deal because you're one person saying one thing. You might not even be saying anything that nasty. You're one person saying one thing. But if 10 million people all say something, we are now piling on one person who didn't do anything but be, I don't know, I guess a little tone deaf or annoying or whatever, right? So quickly, what could have been like a couple people being like, that's not it, turned into the entire internet being like, oh, send her back. That's me quoting Wendy's. You know Wendy's, the sandwich company. You know Wendy's of baked potato fame? Wendy's was like, send her back. And then even, you know, Katy's team shot back at Wendy's like, how dare you wish death on Katy Perry? It's like, all right, both of y'all need to chill because she didn't die the first time. They said send her back. I don't think anybody's wishing death on. All right. And then, you know, she had her interview, and I've been the person who has tried to help the person who didn't hear what they sound. Okay, a good example is there was a foreign exchange student one time at my school, and whenever people transfer, especially like the year's already started and they transferred, right? That is an easy target for other kids. That's a kid that's not, I'm not saying they have to get bullied, but are potentially gonna get bullied because now anyone who is at the bottom of like the high school hierarchy, there's a new person. We don't know anything about this person, so unless they prove that they're very, very cool very, very quickly, they can be at the bottom. And because no one wants to be at the bottom, the people that were at the bottom also pile on this person, right? And so I remember just being in conversation with people like, hey, chill, leave them alone. I know they're a little odd. I look back, I was bullied. I was bullied when I was a kid. And now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, bullying is wrong, but I do see where a couple of them were coming from at certain points where I was doing the most. Like there were a couple times I did open myself up to some scrutiny. Yeah, I mean, like there are a couple of days that I could have not been humming some musical theater number so loud in the boys' locker room. Like I could have not invited some of that in. I know I was just being myself and everybody should be allowed to be themselves, but there's also common sense. And I don't know. Yeah, I was definitely in that situation one time as a kid. And I was like, hey, look, I know that they're different, but they're different. Just chill, right? And then one time they took out all the crystals, put them on the desk. Class hadn't started yet. All the crystals on the desk. Everybody, look, what you doing? It's like, oh, these are my crystals. And then I was like, all right, y'all, be cool. Be cool. And then they grabbed two of the crystals and they're like, brrr. I'm like, not, see, you're not helping me help you. You see you're not helping me help you right now. Who else in the class? Who else doing it? I'm not saying don't be an individual. I'm just saying you know these aren't good people around us right now. I don't want anybody to be just bullies for being themselves, but yeah, she comes out and they ask her, some questions. And admittedly, this is the other thing people got to keep in mind, that some of the questions they asked her were a setup because that person interviewing her was not like a journalist. I'm pretty sure they worked at Blue Origin. Because the first thing they say to her is like, you're officially an astronaut. She didn't say that. They said that to her. And she was like, thank you. And then they were like, tell me how you feel. And she was like, I feel so connected to love. Y'all be cool. See what I'm saying? Do you see? This is how it happens. I know. I heard it too. I know. But y'all be cool. Because Katy Perry was doing a lot. In fact, Gayle K, they asked Gayle K. They were like, hey, what was it like? And then she was like, oh, we get up there and Katy actually sang. When we were up there, she sang What a Wonderful World. We were up there. And to me, just to me, that sounds like a little too much. We only gonna be up here for like 5 minutes. I don't know if I wanna be floating, listening to what you've elected to sing to us. It wasn't like they were floating like, Katy, now! Like that wasn't, I'm guessing, I don't know. I'm not saying anyone didn't enjoy it either. All I'm saying is that that's what Gayle Cake said, and when she said it, I had hoped. This is what I genuinely want from the bottom of my heart, is for Katy Perry to have sang What a Wonderful World like Louis Armstrong. That would have been fire. I'm not gonna lie. That's a Katy I can get behind. If Katy, I see his ring, railroad through, floating. If Katy Perry had been floating, singing what a I see and I think to myself, be amazing. Oh, that would have been incredible. That would have been. Look. That's the thing that I don't know how much they paid to take that flight. I would pay that much money to see Katy Perry do that, floating. That'd be amazing. But you just, in your heart, you kind of know that's not what she did. You know what I mean? You know she did it in the most like theater kid way possible. You know what I mean? They in space, they float, and she was like that. Go ahead and plug up that one ear. Try to find the note somewhere. And you floating too, so it's extra hard to find. People were so mad. I didn't even know, I don't admittedly know much about space at all. I don't at all. That's the wildest thing, is that I shouldn't even tell you this, but basically, okay. So I went to the Jet Propulsion Lab, and they showed us these arrows that are basically tracking pretty much like all the things that are known, right? So pointing at Mars, pointing at certain like planets, moons, everything, and the arrows will randomly change based on what they're pointing at. And admittedly, this is how dumb I am, right? I was confused when everything wasn't just pointing up. I'm not a flat earther. But I can see how people get there, because in my head, it said Mars and then it went left, and I was like, Mars ain't left. This thing broken. Mars ain't left at all. That's crazy. Mars supposed to be up. I'm getting an attitude in my head. I'm like, Mars supposed to be up. What you mean Venus down? You ever been, that's where China is. People don't have any sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild. They just It went to point at Saturn, and it was pointed at me. I was like, this thing broke, dog. I'm telling you. No, I don't know much about space, and there were so many people that were like, they faked the whole thing. They didn't even go up. They never went up at all. The whole launch was AI, and then when they landed, that was a tape from a different time, because those people definitely died. And it's like, no, they don't need to fake it. They don't. I'm not trying to come out in support of like Blue Origin specifically, but it's like they don't need to fake it. This is like the 11th one that they did. They did like 10 of these already, and no one cared. Like, they didn't do the whole press run like they did for this one, so they just did 9 of them in peace. The first one that they did, I think, was William Shatner was on it, and he was like, I was saying all this space stuff, and it's like, bro, you also... Like, that is the one thing I'll say. That is like the one critique that I have of the internet's response to this, is that it's like, a part of me is like, y'all are mad because it's all women. You know what I mean? When William Shatner got off and he was saying all the space stuff, you were like, oh, William Shatner got to go to space. That's so cool. And it's like, yeah, that is cool. That it's cool for anybody to get to go to space, because it's space. It's rare, you know? But you can't let him off the hook for saying like hoity-toity stuff just because he played space. This is my thing. Maybe I'm the only one that feels this way, but I was happy for Gail that she got to go. I know that she's not, you know, like an astronaut. I know she's not trained in this sort of thing, but Gail needs a break. We make Gail interview everybody before their life fall apart. We made Gail interview R. Kelly right before jail. Don't act like you don't remember that. We made Gail sit there. R. Kelly know he going to jail too. You could smell the jail on him. He knew he was going to jail. That's why he was sitting there, didn't know what to do. He was half singing, half crying. Is this working? Sweating, people coming up to blot the sweat off, and you're like, y'all killing me! Hitting notes while he screams. Gail had to sit there the whole time. Robert. Robert. Are these cameras on? I hope these cameras are. Robert. Gail needed a break. Let her have a break. You know, let her go to space for a second. Because there's not that many differences. Tons of similarities in the people who went up to space and the people that went to Coachella. There's a ton. Both have potentially horrific bathroom experiences. You know what I mean? Like true, imagine. Because first of all, you at Coachella, right? And you just trying to get through your day, see your favorite bands, have experiences with your friends. You're financing this thing. It's gonna take you months to pay off, trying to make the most of it. And so maybe, yeah, you had a chili dog before you came. Now you're standing there, sort of stand dancing, listening to Weezer. Sick riff comes in, and right then you feel it. Not a quiet one. A quiet one is your body telling you, hurry. You ever have one of those quiet ones that like, it's just a moment, and only you know it happened. You're the only person in the world that knows. It reminds me of those moments in a horror movie where a little kid's like, run. So you book it. You go out of whatever badge area you have and everything. You don't care about anything. You're just running, trying to get through. And what do you find? A line. A line to use one of the most blown out porta potties in the history of America. This thing, it's like a little wooden. It's like they're not even supposed to be wooden anymore. This is from Woodstock, 1977. Same thing. You know, maybe try and make the most of life. You get this incredible experience. You get to go to space. You get to go to space with these incredible new women that have come into your life through this experience. You've had your 2 days of training together, getting to know each other, doing this like op-ed together and everything, and you try and enjoy life to the fullest, and so you do. You get ready to go on this space trip. It's gonna be 11 minutes, but they're gonna be an incredible 11 minutes of your life. And so yeah, before you leave home, you have a chili dog. You have a chili dog, and you're walking on, and you ring the bell. You're having a good time. You strap in and everything, and right as you strap in, you're waiting to take off, and you hear. They take off, you feel a couple G's, you're like, no. You get into space. You almost touch the Kármán line. Then you hit the ground. You hit the ground. Plop. Okay. I made it. 11 minutes. I held it together. You pop out of the little pod, trying to calmly look for the nearest bathroom. Everybody clapping. Oprah there, the Jenners, everybody clapping. And then somebody runs up. How's it feel to be an astronaut? Can I tell you in 5 minutes? Oh, there's a ton of similarities with Space Trip and Coachella. Both cool outfits, You know, people at Coachella usually make theirs, but they have these cool suits made and everything. Both things sponsored by Amazon, sponsored by Bezos. Both things yield really interesting, esoteric captions on Instagram. You know, they ask Katy Perry how she feels, and she goes, "I feel so connected to love." This is the most powerful spiritual loving experience I've had, second to the birth of my child, right? And be honest. Tell me that's also not an Instagram caption about Coachella. Like that, like if we're being fair, you know? When I watched Katy's interview right out of the pod, I was like, y'all clouded this woman just because the edibles hit. Like, everyone was so mad. They were so mad. And I don't even think they're mad at like Katy or any of those women. I don't think they're mad that like the thing is like tone deaf in nature or whatever. I think they're mad because people are like having a hard time living. Do you know what I mean? It's like they are kind of like the easy placeholder right now for how we feel about how the actual world is. No one's really mad at them. If they had gone and come back, you wouldn't have known. That's how little it affects our actual lives. But we're mad because we see it and we see like, because the thing with a Blue Origin as well is we don't actually know how much it costs to go up. And we know some people get invited to go up and some people have to pay. But they do a thing, and this is very crafty. This is how the rich stay rich, right? We know that it's like $150K deposit if you want to go. We don't know what the next installments are. And I feel like we don't know what the next installments are so they can charge people different stuff. Because maybe you put down 150 and then you have to pay another 150 to go up. And then you put down 150, but you got to pay 500,000 to go up. And as long as y'all don't talk, it's all good. Because these people come together from all walks of life and all these different places in the world and they go up. But for a similar flight, for a similar flight to what they did, there was a guy who paid $28 million. All right? He's allowed to be mad. He's allowed to be mad that anybody got to do it for free because 28 million, even if you're a billionaire, 28 million is still a dent. Like that's wild, 28 million. So I'm just saying, it's wild that thing, we're assuming anyone on that flight had to pay. I can't imagine Bezos making his fiance pay. You know, I don't know if anybody on that flight paid. And I know that the only poor version that we have of what they did is froyo. Because you ever been filling up your cup and you don't have that much of your account, so you gotta fill it with hope. You gotta hope that like, that's a lot of air. That's a lot of air. Let's just put it on the weight right here. $5.50, thank goodness. One time I was getting froyo and I was by myself, but there was a woman checking out before me, and she had stuffed it, got the cookie dough in there, and she had the M&Ms. She had a couple extra flavors, and it was high. It was like a little pyramid of froyo and everything. And then old boy went to ring her up, and it was $135. And I was like, I know he lifted the scale because I'm looking at $17 easy. And then it was my turn. And I put my little one flavor with 2 popping bobas in there. And he rang me up for $13.59. And I was like, so... you got your thumb on it, or what you do? This is crazy. Because I don't think we're that mad at them. I think what's actually happening is that it's very hard to get by right now, and it's hard to escape. And I don't know. Everyone could use a little escapism one way or another, and we're losing access to that because whether you want to go on spring break, and spring break is the most expensive it's been in potentially recorded history. or you want to just go to Coachella. Dude, Coachella tickets. So I didn't even know this was happening. Apparently there are people that are like financing their Coachella trip in like installments. Like they put Coachella on layaway. And it's not like some people. Apparently it's like 60% of ticket goers are like on a payment plan for Coachella, which is insane. That's wild. That you, in increments, long after, you still paying for Coachella, long after Coachella and stuff. And then you see these people who get a break. They get to go to space for free. And you know they could have paid. You know they could afford to pay it. You get angry. And I think people would be less angry if they just went ahead and whether they did a whole flight or half a flight filled with people who just need a break. You know what I mean? That's all you gotta do. Just get like two of the most tired moms you can find. And you barely have to pitch them. It's like, look, you will be weightless for 5 minutes. They'll be like, put it in my veins. You know, just find like one server who's done like 2 doubles in 2 days. You will go to space and you won't be able to hear anything. Yes, that sounds right. You know, just somebody who's down on their luck, just needs to pick me up. Somebody who life has been incredibly hard for. You just grab them and you tell them, hey, I'm gonna give you a trip to space. It won't be long, but it'll be spectacular. You will see Earth in the way that few people will ever get to in their entire lives. You'll see the beauty of the entirety of the planet, and you'll see how small all these people, all these problems, all these things are in the grand scheme of the universe. And Katy Perry will sing What a Wonderful World like Louis Armstrong to you. It'll be spectacular. Y'all been amazing. Thank you so much. I'm Charles Johnson.
San Antonio, Texas, please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
If I'm truly being honest with y'all, one thing I've not been able to stop thinking about is the tariffs. It's like is all I can think about, because all I read about, because it seemed like everybody is like, oh, this is bad. I know people who do not watch the news at all that are like, why is everything red? Did everybody change logos or something? Every time I turn on TV, everything red. What is that? My TV bleeding, something going on. No, in case you have not been aware, in case you're trying to protect yourself and go about your day, there's been a bit of a trade war going on. The wildest thing about a trade war is that you are allowed to like, okay. I was trying to put this in perspective. Okay, you know how when you were like on the playground and, you know, somebody would be like, my dad can beat up your dad. And you were like, oh, you think your dad can beat up my dad? It's like, yeah, I think my dad can beat up your dad. And then, you know, kid one over here is like, yeah, well, my dad goes to CrossFit. And, you know, kid two is like, yeah, well, my dad has been to jail. Sort of the CrossFit of life. So I bet you my dad can beat up your dad. And then other kid, CrossFit kid, dad is like, my dad, he has swords. He has swords, so you can try to beat him up, but he'll chop your dad up. And then kid 2 is like, well, my dad has guns. That's actually why he had to go to the CrossFit of life. It's because he has lots of those. A couple swords too, but he prefers to bring the guns when he has issues. And then, CrossFit, sword, dad, kid is like, yeah, well, my dad is 6'5", so he could definitely beat up your dad. And then, gun, jail. Kid is like, oh, my dad is 5'2", so he has quite a chip on his shoulder. So your dad will be dying, all right? And that's kind of what a trade war is like. You know what I mean? It's like nothing has to happen at the moment, but it is a lot of being behind the desk like, I bet you my economy can beat up your economy. And we know that Trump loves tariffs because even in his first term, he had a lot of tariffs on China for steel and everything. And he campaigned on tariffs and what he thought tariffs would do, at least what he says that they'll do for the U.S. economy in the long run. And so we know that he is serious about the tariffs. I think there were definitely some people that thought that he wasn't serious about the tariffs, and that was a mistake because he was very serious about the tariffs. He was so serious about the tariffs that apparently, now look, I'm gonna do my best here. I am both paraphrasing for the sake of brevity and going off of things that I've read and things that I've been told, and I am not an economist. So I'll do my best job, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna be wrong, okay? But I'm gonna be as close to right as possible on purpose. But apparently this man loves tariffs so much that right when he took office, there were economists, conservative Trump voting Republican economists who, while leaning right, still understand the economy. They still, that's not a dig. I'm saying that the two things can exist together. I'm saying that they understand the economy and they vote the way they vote, but they know the numbers, is what I'm saying. Because I'm not an economist. They understand the economists, kind of. So they immediately went to work coming up with tariff plans so that way, whenever Trump wanted to enact his tariffs, they would have the numbers ready, right? And so they did all the math and they did all the going back and forth and did all the figuring out that could be figured, And then they went to Trump and he wasn't happy with the plan apparently, because in order to enact the tariffs the way that he wants, the numbers, a lot of them at least, were quite small. So then Trump, paraphrasing, but he was like, what is this 1.7? What is this 2.8, these 2.3, this 0.8? No, we need big numbers. We need to impress the people. You gonna send me out there and embarrass me in front of America? I need big numbers. Get me some big numbers, which apparently is why when he walked out with that poster board, you saw the board, that board that, You saw that poster board, it looked like homework, right? Like that poster board. Yeah, poster board out, and he was going down the line, right? He was going down and just naming places like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, little bit of jelly donut, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, a little bit of chicken grease. That was not 100, that was a 10, 10, 10, 10, 94. Because he hit the world with 10% tariffs. If you were anywhere on earth, you could get this 10. Please don't think you can't get this 10 just because you uninhabited. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Please believe me when I tell you. Anybody can get it. All right? You think you cute because you just got some little aminals on your little island? You still getting it. All right? We don't care. This is America. We do what we do when we feel like it. 10, 10, 10, 34, 10, 10, 10, 10, 78, 10, 10, 10. And it was perplexing. The economists didn't understand it. Top Republicans didn't understand it. Even the people that were in support of Trump and his tariffs couldn't tell you that they really understood it. No one really understood it because there wasn't too much to understand. Everybody who does numbers was like, ooh, this is not numbers. This is not the numbers that I thought it was when I thought They were on like CNBC, basically any money channel, any money news channel. When these tariffs went out, they were on there cursing live. They were like, fine us, we don't care, we're all gonna die. You think I care about $10,000? I'll throw you another couple. The dude who does the bleeps must have had money in the market because he was gone. They were up there cursing live. I couldn't believe it. Normally, you'd even see the blurry mouth. I saw them enunciate the swear words. I was like, okay. This might be bad then. If the people who do money all day are upset and they looking at the red and everything look upside down on the graphs, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go up like this. Yeah, I mean, you getting a little low. Dow Jones was not playing. That Dow Jones was like, hey, I'm dead, y'all. No. Yeah, that S&P 500 was down to 5. It was bad. It's like these were rough moments we were in, and nobody really understood why. We lost $3 trillion of value in the market in a day. People were showing me pictures of the stock market and the S&P and the Dow, and then their portfolio, and I was like, man, we got to pick a different color, because that much red ain't good for your eyes. But yeah, apparently, there were economists that tried to figure out something that would do what Trump said they wanted to do, but he was like, no, I need to go out to the people and really make a statement, and I need to make a statement for the other nations so they take this thing seriously. So, 10, give me some 34s, give me some 55s, I'll take anything, just bring it all to me. And they were like, sir, that isn't math. That may not work, but Trump was so dead set on going to other countries like, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, like an opposite Oprah, like a reverse Oprah. You get a tariff, you cry and take that tariff, right? And now this part, I hope, is not true. I'm repeating it because I've read it like in 5 different places. It's been told to me 3 different times, but apparently he sort of sent away the plan that the actual economist wrote up, and then he asked someone else to draw up a plan that would do the tariffs truly bigly, right? Like we really making a statement. And in doing that, they did, apparently, I don't want this to be true because it means we're all doomed, but apparently they did ask ChatGPT what to do with which I don't know. I feel like even when they typed that in to ChatGPT, Chat was like, you sure, dog? Which is a fitting bit of irony, though. It is kind of funny to me that like ChatGPT wrote up a formula that was then applied that then tanked the stock of the company that owns ChatGPT. Like that's a beautiful little closed loop. But ChatGPT went ahead and did its thing. They asked him, hey, how can we tariff the whole world and not have everybody die? And ChatGPT was like, I don't know about the die part, but I will get you a little formula real quick. And it went and then it dropped this formula, and that's the same formula that they've been showing. Now this formula, it does have all the components of like a math equation. It's got the parentheses in there. It's got some X and some Y. Has a little cursive. It has that little squiggly thing for when you divide it, I think. It has everything that you've ever like looked at a meme about confusion that was coming at you, it's in there. It's all that stuff. All that beautiful mind drawing stuff is what's in the thing. It's got some tops, it's got some bottoms. It's got some other like little symbols rubbing together and everything. But apparently, when plugging in any type of numbers into this equation, they still got the math wrong. So no matter if this thing came from ChatGPT or if it came from some mathematic genius, when applied, it was still applied wrong because the tariffs more went towards the tariff amounts more went to trying to reciprocate the amount of money with countries that we had a deficit with than the actual like reciprocal tariff, if that makes sense. Like we applied that thing as if, oh, they're just tariffing us this much, so we're gonna tariff them the same amount. But rather than actually doing that, we were like, here is some math just to make everybody confused real quick, and then we'll actually go ahead and slap a tariff on them for their deficit or for their surplus, which also does not make any sense because then we're both punishing people who buy a lot from us and punishing the people we sell to off the things that we sold them to make things for us, right? So it's basically like being in a bad marriage where like it's like being in a bad marriage where it's like, well, I don't know why you hate me. You married me. Like, I don't know. I'm just over here being your husband. I don't really get why you so mad at me right now. Ooh, you hate me, but you married me. Anyway. And so that is partially where we landed, which is distressing. You know, that first day, these tariffs get applied, the markets react and everything, and $3 trillion of value is just gone, sort of wiped out in the moment. And then the next day it was worse, because the next day they were like, oh, we still doing it because we can get redder. We can get, oh, we haven't even broke out all the red in the crayon box yet. We can keep getting red. And then there was like another $6 trillion loss, like over time. But like we were at $6 trillion, I think, by like that Friday at 4 p.m. or something. And then we lost money over the weekend, which I didn't even think was possible. I thought the whole point of the market closing was to close. Don't keep counting. That doesn't feel fair to me, to keep counting even though we closed and now I owe more than I owed before. That's not fair at all. But then when Japan opened up and Japan was plunging about 8% on their market, and then our futures were also our futures, you know the future, you know the thing you're supposed to look forward to, that was also looking bleak for us. And then our market opened and the market was like, no, we still dying, dog. I'm not pretending. I'm not gonna pretend to know math. You know what I mean? I've met math. I've been affected by math, for sure. Math rules everything around me, yes. But when I tell you that the reason I don't want to hold like public office, I don't want to do any of that stuff, is because I don't want my math to affect anybody else, because I'm bad at it. I'm bad at math. The only time that my math affects other people's lives is when it's my turn to pay at dinner. And that is a bummer for everyone. That is, you can feel it. Okay. When it's my turn to pay for the check and I'm trying to, in my head, out loud, figure out the tip to then add I gotta divide to do the tip, and then I gotta add the number I just divided and then put that together and put that on the total on the merchant copy, all right? We're all up to speed. We've all been to a restaurant. But watching me do that it instantly It instantly feels like when the teacher would make you read in class, but you knew a big word was coming up. You had been trying to sound out this word while the teacher was talking about some other stuff because you had already counted the paragraphs. The teacher making everybody go one paragraph for paragraph for paragraph, and you like, okay, I'm sitting here, which means I'm 8 paragraphs away. That's my word. Oh no! And so then you trying to sound out the word in your head, but you can't sound out in your head. So you're like, maybe I'm not even sounding out right now because my head is quiet. And now, and then they get to you and it's your turn to read, and you're like reading all good, killing it. You even sounding out the commas. You know what I mean? You see that comma and you go, pause. And then you finally hit that big word and you like, all right. Hey, you old enough now, you don't want to sound like you sounded out because everybody will think you can't read even though you read half the paragraph with no problem. You did mic drops on those periods. Anytime there was a period in a sentence, you were like, this good textbook right here. What do y'all know about this English lesson, this Chaucer, okay? And then you finally get to the word and you're like, that's a cough. That was a cough. That wasn't even me reading just now. That's and the teacher goes, scrumptious. I was getting to it. I was getting to it. I was just trying to enjoy the word. I was trying to chew on the word. You the one getting all impatient and stuff. You trying to teach us patience. You're not even patient. That's me. Like, at least the closest I come to ruining everybody's life with math is when it's my turn to pay at dinner and I'm trying to factor out loud the tip, and I'm hearing me try to do math in my head, hearing a grown man say carry the is not gonna inspire confidence in my abilities, right? If I'm sitting there with the, okay, and then you got the two right there, all right? Anytime I gotta do math without a calculator or a pencil, it's a whole conversation. I'm literally sitting there like, all right, so, you know, I'm gonna do 25% because she was killing it, all right? So 25%, that's even better because it's also a quarter. Now I just gotta break this down into 4 parts and then put that line there, right? So now all I gotta do is get you to be still, be still, be still, be still. Stop it. I'm telling a 6 to stop it out loud at the table. Stop moving, all right? So now we gonna carry the 3, and if that 6 will be still, I think we at 9. No, that's up. That's not even division. That's more. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna put a 4 here, and that 4 gonna slide up and trip that 5. Gonna kick the legs up under that 5. And then that's a 1. Why couldn't this be an even number? Why couldn't somebody just order the guacamole like I said? That would have got us closer. Okay. So 7 and 3, that's 10 anyway. So that's 10. So now we know we're going to have a 2 in there. I know y'all want to go. All right? Get in the car then. Get in the car. I'll follow. Yeah. And then I get embarrassed. And so I just write the total twice. And then I'm like, at least if I tip 100%, nobody could be mad at me. But then I'm sitting there like, can I really afford this? Because then I got to get in the car and do the math in my head of my account. I'm like, all right, so we eating on Sunday, all right? Tomorrow is a business day. It's not going to go through till tomorrow. So if I add a 20 to the account, ooh, I'm overdrafting hard. Oh, I don't know what the number is, but I know that fee gonna hit. We're in a bad way. One of the biggest problems that I think is facing Americans and the country is that we don't have a sort of cohesive identity of care for each other. So, for instance, something could happen to a large swath of Americans, and there'd be other Americans that are like, all right, good, I don't care, whatever. And I'm not saying any country is perfect. And I know that some of the countries I'm mentioning have at least a little bit of a homogeneity to them and everything. But whether you're Portuguese, you're Spanish, you're Italian, you're Brazilian, you're Mexican, when something happens and it happens to your countrymen, you see it as happening to your countrymen because they're all in a country together. They're all like in this thing together. I'm not saying there's not poor and rich and they don't have some of the same problems that we have. I'm not saying that factions haven't split people more than ever before, especially with the internet. I'm just saying that like they can look at a person they don't know and be like, that is my countryman, right? And we haven't had something like that for a long time. There are whole parts of the country that if you put them in a room together, we assume they would fight. We assume that it would come to blows almost immediately, just off of like, hey, do you want to pass the salt? Like just like not even a political thing, just, it would just happen eventually, you know? And I thought that the connective tissue that we had as a country would put us together cohesively was at least like capital. I thought it was at least money. I thought that money would be at least the one thing that made us go, all right, we should all stop and figure this thing out right now. If it's not money, I don't know what it is. Like visiting another country and seeing it doesn't have to be this way is crazy. I'm surprised that's what we're not allowed to do. I'm surprised we're allowed to still travel. Because if you go anywhere else on like planet Earth, and I'm not talking about every place, I'm just saying, there are places that you look around and you'll be like, y'all don't just punch people in the face for being broke? Y'all don't just... Wow, all right, crazy. Going to another country that's like functioning and seeing how they operate is like going to a functional family's house for dinner. Like, it's just... You're just sitting there astonished. You're like, everybody here? Everybody sitting at the table together? All right. Got mom, got dad, got kids, and invited me over as a guest, and y'all just all smiling. As the dad, you're just sitting there. You're sitting there asking your kids about their day. Their day at school. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? You should be abandoning all of them right now. You should be abandoning winning all of them. You should be going to Vegas and putting it all on black, and then you win. You actually win. You doubled your net worth in a day, and then you put it all on red because you had a feeling, and then you lost it all, and then you're sitting in this casino's cafeteria where there's very nice food, but somehow it's still like a disgusting cafeteria, and you've got these crab legs and these lobster tails in front of you, but you're wondering what you're going to do after tonight because there's nowhere to go because you left home. That's what you should be doing. Not asking your kids, how was school? Like, it's... And then the mom sitting here, mom sitting here, help dad cook the meal. They cooked it together as a family unit. You know, they didn't just fall into general norms. You know, they figured out that he bakes good and she makes great chicken, so she made the chicken, he bakes some bread and everything, and it's all on the table together. They're watching their children eat it for the nourishment of their bodies. Food that they bought through the work that they do. They both work jobs. You have to be a 2-income household now. It can't just be one person working, and so they worked really hard, and they bought that food, and they cooked that food to the best of their ability, and now it's going to feed their children and give them good nourishment for their bodies, and they don't resent those kids at all, and that's crazy. Like, why aren't you looking at these kids like they ruined everything? Why aren't you telling them what you did before they were born? Like, as a dad, you should be telling them, I used to dunk. All right? I used to have a sick vertical, and then, you know, you came along, and I was trying to put your car seat in the car and close the door too fast and slam my knee. I'll never jump again, but enjoy your baked goods. Like, that's the type of dad that you should be. Just over here smiling at them, watching them enjoy your bread. Oh, Dad, it's so good. And as the mom, you're over here working a job, cooking as well, and not resenting anyone here. You did a great job cooking rosemary chicken. It's delicious, succulent, not dry at all. How'd you manage that? How'd you manage not to dry it out? The rosemary's perfectly on there, and you shouldn't be here. You should be cheating. You should be cheating to give your kids something to fight against, okay? You want to make your kid a star athlete, you go out there right now and you cheat. You break up this family so that the only solace they can find is baseball, and then they just hit dinger after dinger every game because they're hitting their trauma. And then one day a scout from a good college, a college they couldn't possibly afford because it's not a 2-income household anymore. One of those colleges comes to scout this kid, and they're like, man, that kid's got talent. And we have to get him on this school's team, full ride. He goes from that full ride to AAA minor into the majors. And then one day, they're interviewing him at the end of a game where he's hit the dinger that won them the World Series. And he's like, hey, I don't know where, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional. I don't know where, my mom and dad are, but just know that I love you and I hope you're watching. And I did this for you, okay? I did this for you. I love you so much. You should be doing that instead of just helping them with their homework. And the kids are like sitting there, well behaved, which is crazy. It's crazy. They're not hitting each other at all. They're not trying to put a fork in the other's temple at all. They're just sitting there enjoying like mom and dad's cooking and everything, laughing at each other's jokes. Hey, I have a joke. Everyone cares. Like, it's insane. You're sitting at a table as a family in America. This should not be happening, all right? You know, as the son, you should be sitting there yelling at your dad, give me back my skateboard or I'll kill you. Like, that's more our speed, you know? And that's what it feels like to just go to another country and watch them go to the hospital when they need to go to the hospital. Like, that's, just watch social safety nets happen and have just like a general care for citizens and stuff. That's what that feels like when it happens. One of the things that makes it so bad is that we have this attitude because of the strength of the dollar and because it is the base of like the world's currency. Everyone compares their currency to the dollar, the strength of their currency, the strength of the dollar, and people would like to be paid in dollars, at least for now. And there's an attitude that we have as Americans that it has to be that way. That we don't know any other way, so it must stay that way. So it really doesn't matter what we do, but it does. It does. All of that belief, all of that standard, with us as a standard, is confidence. And if your partners lose confidence in you, it's not going to be good for you. If your confidence is waning because of moves that have been made and unpredictability, then people will try to figure something else out. That's a little terrifying. You know, I'm not an economist. I don't know how all of it works. I just know that you can only really bully the whole world for so long. Do you know what I mean? There was a flight a couple years ago where on this flight, this dude on the flight stands up mid-flight and is talking wild and reckless. This dude stands up and he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody in here, okay? All right, you're all gonna die. Do you understand me? Every single one of you is gonna bleed and die. And he's making all these weird movements and he is freaking people out, and people are stuck in their seats. They're like paused in their seats. There's only one person who's like taking a little bit of cell phone footage of this dude because nobody knows what this dude is gonna do, and he's getting up so confident and he's so scared because I guess he's like a bigger dude as well, and he's like, no, y'all are all gonna die. He's clearly having like some sort of mental episode, but at the same time nobody can know how serious he is or like what his problem is or anything, and people are frozen in their seats, right? And he's like, I'm gonna kill every single one of you. You're all gonna die. I'm gonna crash this plane. And then he tries to get into the cockpit as well. He can't get into the cockpit because that's locked. And finally, this dude goes into, I think it's his back pocket, right? And everybody's expecting a knife, a gun, and this dude has a spoon. And when everyone realized that all he had was a spoon, talking this reckless, they whooped his ass. There was plenty of cell phone footage of that. They were whooping this dude. I know they don't do it on flights anymore because people have allergies, but back in the day, they used to have peanuts on flights. And every once in a while, somebody would open the peanut packet too hard, and the peanuts would go everywhere. They go over the tray table, but then they go in the aisle, and they bounce all down the aisle because the plane was still getting some altitude and everything. And he kind of looked like that peanut. They were passing him around, beating his ass. They were really tossing him back and forth. And then he still had the spoon. Was like, wait. Man, that cracked me up. Wait! They made that man sound like tennis in there. That man, he was using the spoon a little bit. He was like, man. And people were like, all right, fingers and eyes. There were other people who never got the chance to beat his ass that just watched it with their phones, and you could see them just with the eyes going, ooh. And then they restrained him, and then they landed. Cops got on the plane like, damn. I thought we were whooping ass. Man, this man tied down to the seat with seatbelts and duct tape and still got the spoon. And then, in the midst of all this turmoil, all this red, Trump tweeted, or, great time to buy. That's the most unserious thing I've ever heard in my life. Honestly, look. Admit it for a second to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud, but just know in your heart, if this was any other country, you would be laughing your ass off at that. That is very, very, very funny. That is so inappropriate and so funny at the same time. It's basically like somebody driving the car towards your car accident going, wee! And then, because we don't have a serious system, because we're not doing things the way that maybe anybody should do them. Somebody from Trump's administration, I'm pretty sure his cabinet, and I don't want to say the wrong name, but just know that they're in his circle. They went on, maybe it was CNBC, it was one of the major news networks, and they were asked by the anchor, hey, do you think there's any possibility that all these tariffs, all this stuff going out is really just to raise the alarm bells, and that there's a possibility of a sort of 90-day situation, just like with Canada and Mexico? And then that guy said, yeah, the president's going to decide what he wants to decide. He's going to do what he wants to do. But then, off of that, you heard me when I said, yeah, the president's going to decide what he's going to do. Yeah, just off that noise, that noise right there. Yeah. Someone clipped that and tweeted the yeah. And then they said that there was about to be a 90-day pause. And then the market went up $3 trillion because we are not really here, I guess. Like, that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. I knew money wasn't real before, but I didn't know. That's a noise. He didn't even give it a full yeah. Yeah. 3 trillion from right? And then it went back down again because the White House came out and was like, we never said that. And so it dropped all the way back. And then like 2 days later, Trump reversed the 2 days later, he was like, yeah. He reversed the tariffs, and then the market shot up like $3 trillion again. I'm starting to think the market only understands $3 trillion. And I'm not saying I knew it would happen. If I did, I would have made a lot of money, like some of those people that are potentially going to be investigated because they had calls on the market for 2,000%, and then they very rich. Trump even pointed one out. He was like, that guy made $9 billion whatever he said. And yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't expect it. I did not expect there to be a ton of follow through in that. I'm just saying that when he said, I'm not saying I believe everything he says. I'm saying I thought he believed what he said when he said it. I thought, look, I'm not saying I believe when he says the thing, I don't know if I believe it. But when anyone says what they say, you would think that they would know if they believe it or don't believe it because they said it, because they're alone in there with their head to say it or not say it, and then to know if they're lying or not lying. But then I was not in his head, so I'm like, I don't know, right? But I thought he would know whether or not he meant what he said anytime he speaks, just for himself, not for us. I understand. The man can lie, but this in your head just for you is where I don't think you should be able to fool yourself. I don't think you should be able to trick yourself that way. If you said it, you alone in your head in your room of one should know what you mean when you say it. And I know that doesn't make sense, but it makes as much sense as the tariffs because it is in his head by himself. So, all right. Yeah. That was the thing. That was the thing. And then he, reversed the tariffs on a bunch of countries, except he increased the tariffs on China because they had increased the tariffs on us in the wake of that thing happening. So then it was really just, my dad can beat up your dad. I didn't forget you from before, so just know that my dad can beat up your dad. And then China was like, you don't, look. China made a statement early into the little tariff trade war where they were like, if the U.S. wants a trade war or any other type of war, we're ready and we'll fight to the end. And that's a lot. That's a lot. I thought we were talking about numbers, and that's another place to take it. And then Trump raised it to like almost 150% on, and this is my thing. I'm not an economist. I don't even know math. But can we at least keep the percents in the 100, please? You know what I mean? Because we're getting into some dangerous territory. The only other place that percents have gone over 100 and has been bad for people in this way is Maury. Maury had people on that were 1,000% sure, and they couldn't have been more wrong. They could not have been more fundamentally incorrect. One of my favorite, in case you're not familiar with Maury, in case you have not been blessed with the afternoon programming, the after school watching that was Maury, there were episodes of Maury. Maybe my favorite episode of all time was white woman, white man, black baby, fraternity episode. That was art. So white woman over here, and she's like, that's his baby, Maury. That's his baby. Why won't he take care of his responsibilities more? Okay, so we dated for a while. We would hook up from time to time, and then we broke up. So I was out. You know what I mean? I saw some people, but that's his baby. Look at it. The baby got a head. He got a head. That's his baby. All right. And then I never thought that I would have to say it this way, but then this poor white man had to, in real time, navigate making sure everyone understood he was not the father while not saying anything horrifically offensive. And to his credit, he really kept a cool head and did his best. He was like, okay, look. We all God's children, all right? Okay, and I mean this with no disrespect to the African American gentleman baby or the community at large, but he and I are not kin. And then Maury, who is normally the voice of reason, who you think would have his back, says out loud, you don't think this could be your child? And this man is sitting here like, Maury, don't make me say it. Are you serious? Look at the screen. And then he read it out. He was like, the DNA results are in. He pulls it out of the envelope and he goes, when it comes to the case of 2-year-old Dalmon Travius, Mike You are not the father. And of course she was like, no! And she did 6 backflips and ran outside. And then he went, yeah, I know. Y'all be blessed. And that's my thing. It's like if you're gonna be more than 100% sure, you have to be so sure. You have to be right. You have to be correct. And China came out with a statement. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. I don't know. I just saw it where they were like, due to the U.S. Tariff raise, we will be raising tariffs 125%, and any other raises the U.S. Will do in retaliation will be inconsequential and will be seen as a joke in the history of economies. And I'm just saying, maybe you don't want to get into a math contest with China. Y'all been fantastic. Thank y'all so much.